Okay, we're live. Welcome, Bridget. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing, Susan?
I'm good. So, we are here with Bridget Barnes, Director of Boys Town, Nebraska's Common Sense Parenting, and we are talking how to break that gadget addiction, which is, on everyone's mind now because I think we're using our gadgets more than we ever anticipated we could.
True.
Well, thanks for joining us as we speak to you from our gadgets, which we've had a lovely time with so far yet today. So the first question I think is very timely. Um, our family watched The Social Dilemma, which was a Netflix documentary focused on technology and social media's effects on our kids. I am worried about my child's phone, tablet, etc., that it's making them depressed because they are constantly comparing themselves to other friends and celebrities that they see on the internet. What can I do?
Well, I think there's some really basic things that you can do. The simple answer is just reduce the amount of exposure that your child is having to social media. We really do control that more than we think. So, setting some limits on the amount of social media, if they're being so influenced at thoughts and values, then you'll want to make sure you limit that exposure. And then also communicate when they do are exposed to things. Talk to them about how they feel about that or how that makes them feel. So talk about the feelings behind the exposure to social media or technology. And the three words you have to remember when it comes to social media is monitor, monitor, monitor. Okay, what you saw uh, 10 years ago is not what we're seeing now, and what you saw 10 months ago is not what you'll see. It's always changing social media, so you really have to stay tuned. You really have to stay involved. And so monitoring doesn't mean just hover over your kid. It really is just having those conversations, making sure that you have some limits, and then talking about those things that they do get exposed to so that you have some influence.
Yes, when I sit down next to my daughter and watch her scroll through Instagram or TikTok, there are lots of things that we can discuss, um,
Yes.
what she thinks of them and what I think of them often are two very different things, which is a whole nother discussion.
True.
But I
Very true.
like the monitor. So how do I best monitor? My daughter's not going to let me sit there the whole time she's looking at something and watch it, what she's looking at, where she's going, what she's seeing. How best do I monitor?
Well, I always believe in being more proactive than reactive because it's hard to take it back than. So here's the thing about behavior online. It's the same behavior in life. If your child is not following your instructions in life, they're probably not going to follow your instructions online.
Good point.
So your best bet is to talk to kids ahead of time and talk about what the rules are and talk about trust and say to them, okay, I want to trust you on social media, but you have to be able to trust yourself. You have to be able to say no to people who want to influence you. And so you need to practice that in daily life. And when I give you an instruction or a rule, you need to be able to go along with that rule or to be able to disagree with it appropriately before you break any rules. So I really would start with day-to-day life before you start requiring that online. Kids can't do that online if they can't do it in their everyday life.
I think too, when it comes to how you treat others, that's a good lesson to teach kids because it's Bullying Awareness Month, and um, with the more we're home, the more online bullying is probably occurring. I don't know for sure, but I would assume so. Um, so having that same conversation of treat others how you want to be treated. Here's how to be kind and respectful of people, whether you're in front of a computer or face to face. It does not change.
Exactly. And don't retaliate. I had my son come to me and say that he was being bullied online by someone. And I said, well, how did you respond to this? And he told the rest of the people what this person was doing. And I said, well, do you think that was the best decision? Because then that just keeps the conversation going. Could you have ignored that person and just turned off that feed and say, well, that person's not on my friend, I'm going to not friend them anymore. And he said, well, he was saying things about me that I couldn't see. Well, there's things that people say that you can't see in real life. And so, they don't hurt you if you unless you let that. So having those conversations are really important to get kids to think through it.
Right. Which again is the same way to treat in person, is if you're not giving it attention, it can't get much bigger. It probably
Right.
can, but I mean, that's what it wants. Is it wants more attention. So if you're not giving that more attention, then more than likely it'll stop.
Yeah, I tell them, what would you do in real life? Would you just keep going? No, you walk away, you do
Mm-hmm.
something different. And the same thing with social media. Well, his big fear, and a lot of kids' fear, was that other people are talking and I can't see what they're talking about. And they're paranoia about somebody's thinking or
Yeah.
talking about me. And that just says to me, you need to get more other things in your life so that
Right.
you won't have to be so concerned about what other people are thinking about you. What do you think about you?
Yeah. Very good point. Um, all right. Here, this question I thought was interesting. How do
Mhm.
I know when technology becomes an issue? I think that's a good, what are the warning signs that my child's getting bullied online if they're not telling me, or that they're having an issue with being online so much that it's making them depressed?
Yeah. Well, technology, it becomes an issue when you let it take over your lifestyle and your thinking, right? And so, are you and your child changing your behaviors because of technology? I hear parents say to me, well, all of his friends have this technology, and I feel pressure to get it for him. So, technology is dictating to you how to parent your kid. So you have to decide and make decisions, and not all of them are going to be easy, but they might be the right ones. Just because everyone else is doing it doesn't make it right. And is that influencing your thinking and your lifestyle? If something begins, I don't care what it is, technology or anything else, if it begins to influence your lifestyle and your thinking and behavior, then you have got to take hold of that and make some changes so that that doesn't happen for you and your kiddo.
Yeah, we hear that a lot from when we speak with the folks at the Boys Town National Hotline. When you're seeing those changes in behaviors, when you're seeing kids not enjoying or doing some of the things that they would normally enjoy and do, those are big warning signs. So clearly
Well,
that relates. Yeah.
social media is so slight in its changes in you that you almost would not recognize it. And that's why having conversations, we do at Boys Town, we have family meetings talking to kids, that you'll see a slight change in thinking by talking to kids and asking them about their thinking, about their values, about certain topics, about certain things. And you'll see those slight changes long before behavior changes. And that's where you want to catch that. Because by the time you see behavior changing, it's really hard to
Yeah.
draw it back. So you will want to really stay tuned, stay connected, have conversations on a daily basis, and limit social media.
All right. When you say limit social media, what is it that you mean? Give me
Well, I
some
just think,
guidelines.
yeah. Well, I just think it's just exposure constantly. Our kids, I mean, it's almost as if they're getting problems with their hands and their necks because of the amount of time they're spending on technology to get to social media. And so anything, too much of anything becomes a bad thing.
Right.
And so it is better. And I know some of these tech giants don't even let their kids be exposed to social media, and they're the people who make it.
The people who run the social media. I
Right,
know. It's crazy.
exactly. And you saw in that movie that many of the people who made that social media are very, very concerned. So if they're not letting their kids be exposed to it 24/7, why are we? Because we're driven, it's very addictive to want to get to social media. And if there was something else in life that was making your child be addicted to that thing, you
We
would
take it
stop
away.
that.
Right.
Yeah, you would limit that, or you would take that away, or you would say, hey, you're really beginning to, this is beginning to be too much for you. So
Yeah.
you have to step in as a parent, yeah, and say, let's talk about this. Let's limit this. Maybe you're going to have it twice a week till you can show that you can control yourself. And then maybe we can up that as you can show me that you can monitor yourself and you can stay within the rules.
Right. We've had the discussion before of, I'm missing out if I'm not on social media, and I'm missing out on my friends talking and engaging in what's going on. And I'm like, well, you're also missing out on those negative comments, and you're missing out on feeling slighted because there's something that you weren't invited to, and you're missing, so there's a lot of negative things that you're missing out on that they don't really think about until you have that discussion.
Yeah, it definitely, if they're your friends, they're going to be your friends. I've had friends I haven't called in a while. I'll call them back up and we start right back where we left off. And so if they're really your friends, you'll be able to say, tell me more about that. And that girls love to, even guys, they'll love to fill you in on the whatever's been going on if you've been away for a moment. Having that time away allows you to assess yourself, to do some self-assessment, to get to know who you are. But when you're always on social media learning about other people and about movie stars and about whoever else that people are talking about, you're not really taking enough time to learn about who you are and how you should be engaging in the world, or who do you want to be. So I really think you have to have be selfish, have some time for yourself, and give some time to your friends. And if you have to catch up, that's no problem. They want to do it. They want to tell you.
All right, so that leads me to one of our next questions, which is, what are some good activities that we can do to replace screen time that my kids won't, fight about or be upset with when we're taking a break from screen time to do these things?
Well, again, that family meeting to talk to kids about what are some things that we can replace social media. You don't have to be the know it all. You don't have to make it all up for them. Kids are really good at, when you thinking about and problem solving, they can be part of the brainstorm in regards to what to replace social media with. And a lot of times kids will say you are spending time with family, our family activities, our family movie night, or whatever the case may be. And so have them come up with some of those ideas so they will want to buy into it. When kids are part of their governance, then they're more likely to follow through on the rules that they made up. So I would definitely include them in the conversation and think about things that make you move. That's just anything the opposite of sitting sedentary in front of a technology or other gadgets we might have will be the thing to go after. Ask them, think about replacement behavior, something that makes us move as a family. Let's think about those kind of things. Something we have to do that we have to do together, something we do where we have to communicate with others. So those three, making those are the priority. And now think of the best one. And whoever thinks of the best one wins. I don't care
We
what
do
they
that,
win.
yes.
Yeah, they win this gift certificate to your favorite ice cream shop or whatever the case may be. But make it fun and get everybody involved is my suggestion.
And I think that families are doing a really good job of this lately. Because I just read an article about how the pandemic, a lot of kids are online less actually because there's more family time and there's more family activities because families are home. And I think that's, kudos to all the parents out there that are trying really, really hard, to get to figure out some of those activities. And it's so fun to watch, and see the different things that families come up with, uh, to do to keep their kids entertained and off screens.
Well, even if they're doing the TikTok videos, I know a lot of people are doing that nowadays. I have to be honest with you. I'm probably the only one on the planet, but I've never seen a TikTok video.
We turn
But
all of these into TikToks, Bridget. Did you not know that?
I never see myself then. But the, the thing is, though, I've heard people talk about the fun things that people do on the TikTok video. They do as a family. And so the family's together and they're recording themselves. And if that's something you want to do, you can still use technology, but you can be interacting with each other. As long as it isn't like as soon as the TikTok video is over, now we disperse and we're not going to have anything to
Right,
do with each other.
right,
Yeah. So making some time where you're away from technology altogether so we know how to interact when there's not technology there to influence us to
right.
do so. Mhm.
So that's another question we got are what are some good, guidelines like time where technology is completely off the table, like dinner time. What are some other times that families can set where it's no technology?
Well, I would always say that just what I said is just anytime I'm talking to someone, I'm interacting, I'm around other people and I'm interacting with other people. I just leave my purse, my phone in my purse or in a cart or somewhere away from me where I cannot pick it up. Don't be at a dinner table with your phone on the table. It should be in a basket away from the table. So anytime I'm talking to or someone's talking to me, I'm interacting or I'm in a group, I don't allow technology to be with me. That's my rule. Everybody will be a little different, I'm sure, but I think when we're talking about human interaction, it should not necessarily include technology unless you're in a meeting with your corporation and you need technology. Otherwise, it's not necessary.
Yeah. I think the dinner table is an easy one. And, that's a rule at our house is there's no phones at the table. And I will say my husband breaks it more than anybody else.
Yeah,
So,
and
but
that's what
it's
I
good
find.
to have a rule for everybody that, me included, my husband included, nobody
Yeah,
gets phone at the table.
no, I agree. I think us as adults are the one that are the model for our kids. We're breaking the rules that we're setting. And that's why having kids involved in the governance and saying, okay, here are the rules. And when you break the rules, kids can say, hey, mom, hey, dad, you've got that phone out at the dinner table.
Yeah.
You know the rule. And then you have to do whatever when you
Yeah,
break the rule, you have to deal with that so that you can see that, be a good role model, which is hard sometimes.
it is. Okay. My teenager is on their phone late into all hours of the night. He is exhausted for school each day after staying up late on TikTok and Instagram. What can I do? I'm worried I'll get into a big argument if I enforce a technology bedtime policy. Help.
Well, I think it's okay to be okay with having a difficult conversation with your kiddo. Just kind of be ready that it's not going to be fun,
Yeah.
okay? Especially when it comes to technology. And so if you kind of had that, like, if it's not so bad, then you're like, oh, good. But if it is bad, then you'll go, hey, I kind of expected that to happen.
Yeah.
And then don't let technology dictate to you what your values are or what your parenting approach is. Say to kids, hey, this is the rule about bedtime. And I would really, my rule, and it might be different for every family, my rule was 2 hours before bedtime, technology is off the table. The reason why I had that rule, especially the younger you are, the more that is enforced. But the reason we have that rule is because it wakes the brain up,
Yeah.
especially anything that is like video games where you have to interact with it. But even a television can wake up the brain, which makes it hard for kids to go to sleep. So, an hour before, start reading something, or play chess or do something that's more quieting to the body so that you can begin to get ready for rest. Your body has to wind down. But when you play a video game, you watch a scary movie, your body is awake and it's part of your whole makeup. So you have to quiet the brain, to quiet the body to get the proper rest that you need. And if kids don't understand it, they won't. You need to make sure that all technology is taken away. If kids take it into their room and you expect them not to turn it on, really? They're going to turn it on.
Yep.
I would if I was a kid and had great games
They'll
like
find a
that.
way.
And yeah, I would just expect that, take some precautions and set kids up for success. Don't set them up for failure. Don't give them technology and say go to bed and think that they won't, use it. Just have some rules and use some common sense with that and say okay. And when kids break it, they sneak out of the room. They get to technology. I would just have it in my room just so you really have to get by me to be able to get to it.
Yeah. And I think it's fine to say, we thought you were handling this well, but it does not appear that you are because other things are suffering. Um, and because of that, we're going to have this conversation.
Yeah. And the kid can understand, you've been up, you couldn't get out of bed, and now here we are. And don't wait for it to get so chronic that it gets out of control.
Right.
So have that conversation early on.
All right. So my kid plays video games and isn't doing his homework. How can I get him to prioritize homework and then games? So,
Yeah.
Bridget, this makes me think of our kid rewards. So our kid incentives, and I love that topic. So would you talk about that a little bit and how maybe rewarding them for getting the homework done, but using rewards that are kid rewards?
Sure. Well, one thing I want to say before we talk about kid rewards and homework is to say that homework becomes a priority for kids when it becomes a priority for parents. So when you create a place of special, this is where homework happens. This is the time that homework happens. I quiet down the house. I don't start vacuuming and making it while my kids are studying. So when it's my priority, it becomes their priority. When I study in front of them, and what I mean by study is that I might be doing some billing or I might be reading a book that I
Right.
like. So I begin to model the behavior at that time that I want kids to do. Then, of course, video games have to be earned, and they're only earned by doing your homework. If you stay on task, if you go to the place that I've assigned you to do your homework, if you bring that homework back to me and show me that you've done it, not that I can understand it all, but that I see that you've done your homework, that's a good thing. And
Right.
that, then just really having some incentives like you mentioned, we have some really a great list of those on our online site that you can just pull down from there and be able to reward kids by their behavior of following instructions, getting your homework out, taking it to the table. There's a reward. Go ahead and do your homework, stay on task for 15, 20 minutes, and breaking up the homework into little chunks. Sometimes kids have a lot of homework these days, more than I've ever
We
seen
do.
ever
Yes.
in history. And so just telling them to sit there for 2 or 3 hours can be really hard for kids. So break that up a little bit, have a little snack, get a little time away from homework. But I would say using incentives and making the video games an incentive can be your first step in the right direction.
Yes. And I think, a lot of times, I love the kid rewards because it focuses on, not every kid is going to want the same reward. And parents might think a good reward is something very different than what your child might
Hmm.
think a good reward is. So that's where, like you said, the video games
Yeah,
come in handy. Something that they actually want.
yeah.
Um,
I have
important.
these little joy and job jar thingies. Here's are mine. And so, when my grandkids are doing what they're supposed to do, I don't even have to think of the reward, the little incentives, because they're inside these little jars here. So make it easy on yourself.
Yeah,
Don't work so hard. They're all around us all the time. Things that kids like, and they put their own things in the little jars. So, make it easy. And we have those lists right up on our site that you can pull down.
I will say, Bridget, one summer we did the Joy and Job Jar all summer. And we had everybody contribute ideas to what we would do for, fun activities. And we had the most exciting, fun, crazy, random summer of all the
Oh,
weird things that the kids came up with that we did. We went to a park and painted, and it was fabulous. And
great.
they loved it because they were so excited to see what was going to come out next and what was going to be the reward this time. I think that's such a fabulous tool.
Great.
Highly recommend it. All right, let's see what else. Do you have any apps or any programs that you recommend to parents to use to monitor social media?
It is kind of hilarious that we've created this monster. Now we created all these gadgets to kind of control the
Control our
social media
gadgets?
monster.
Yes.
But yeah, there's lots of things, and there's not one. I'm sure everybody has their preference. I saw one up online called it's a video, so it's good. It's called Keeping Kids Safe Online, and it's by Jennifer Jolly. And you can go and watch the video because sometimes reading is so much stuff up there that it just can overwhelm you. So there's some nice little videos by lots of different people. I would definitely look at the different gadgets and links that they have for restricting your child's screen.
Mhm.
So Google Family Link has a nice restriction that you can get. Apple has one as well. There's plenty of them out there. There's also a thing called a Circle Family
Mhm.
Plus that you can get. It's a device. It's a little gadget that can control all the gadgets in the home because kids have theirs, parents have theirs. It can get a little overwhelming. So try to find something where you can have a one-stop shop kind of a situation to control all gadgets and see what's going on with them. So I would just say don't try to overwhelm yourself. If you can watch a couple of videos, it'll give you some good ideas. Keeping kids safe online might be a place to start, and then move on from there by finding some good restriction screens like Google Family Link, or getting a gadget like the Circle Family Plus.
Yeah, and we've been posting a lot of comments on the feed here of activities, and our family media policy is also a really great thing. It's a contract that the family fills out together, where they discuss, here's how much screen time we're going to have a day. Here's what we're going to do. Here's the sites that we can access. Here's the sites we can't. And here's what's expected. I think those contracts work great because not only do you have something to point to, when it's their end of the bargain is not being held up, but you also have a good discussion at the beginning of it. And like you said, Bridget, everybody comes up with the plan and the whole family's involved in it. Um,
Yeah, it's really important to set your values up front. Having that kind of agreement to say, this is what our family values are. This is what we're going to do as a family. It's really important because when social media says, oh no, have these other kind of values, do these other kind of things, you can say, hey, this goes against our family values. So why are we doing that? What's making us do that? Well, everybody else is doing it. Well, let's think about whether that's a good decision just because other people are doing it.
right. That's never a good rationale. Everyone else is doing it, so I should be doing it.
Yeah, really normal for teenagers, however, to get in that rut of everybody else is doing that and I want to
Yes.
do it too. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
We have that discussion a lot when it comes to Snapchat. That's one that, I just won't let my kids on because it just scares me with the ability for things to be erased. And I don't know. It's funny. So that's when you talk about values. I don't know that I can rationalize it so great, but that's one that's off my list, right? So all
yeah.
of my kids, same way on that. Nobody gets access to that one.
hmm And that's fine. And that's fine. Another parent might feel totally okay with that. That's their choice. My suggestion to all parents is to have conversation with kids, to stay with your own values, your family rules. I would agree with you. If a Snapchat is something that I can't see, it would be sound like somebody coming up to my kid flashing, whoa, okay, I can't control I can't control these things. I can't allow you to be exposed to stuff that I can't control. And why would I let that in my house? Why would I
Right.
let something like that in my house? So, yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
All right. Well, thank you. I feel better about excluding that now that I have your approval. I needed one to agree with me. I appreciate it.
Your kids won't like me tomorrow,
No,
but you have my approval.
that's all right. That's all right. All right.
That's okay.
Well, I think we've gotten through most of the questions that we have gotten. There's a few, but they're all very, similar on how to set those boundaries, how to enforce those boundaries. And I think we've covered a lot of that. But yeah, it's definitely something that parents are struggling with. But again, I just want to give a shout out to the parents, all parents, because it's a really difficult time. And I think people are just being so creative and finding such great ways to keep their kids offline and happy and doing well. So
Yeah. Well,
kudos to all the
technology
parents
can
out there.
be a very fine thing, and it has
Yes.
brought a lot to our lives, no doubt. And of course, we need to understand that we were once children or teenagers where we blocked our parents out with our rock and roll and our, headphones. And so it's really normal for kids to want to use their social media or their technology to do that. The thing is, what do we do in response to that? If we see addictive behavior, how are we responding to that? And are we having the tough conversations that we need to have with kids that help them to understand themselves, be more aware of themselves, and to not to get sucked into just doing it because everyone else is doing it, even when they know maybe this isn't the most healthy thing for me to be doing.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Well, thank you, Bridget, for your time and your excellent advice as always. We really appreciate it. And we just posted a link to find all of the CSP classes in your area.
Well, thank you.
Is there anything new going on with Common Sense Parenting classes that we should know about, Bridget?
Well, we have a lot of free classes out there, people. So you should sign up today. We have classes for parents of children going to school in North Omaha. We have classes for military families. We love our military families. Our first responders want to get help out there for them. We have our Bellevue classes that are free to Bellevue parents out there, also in Lincoln Public School System. So a lot of free service that everybody should be taking advantage for. Usually people have to pay for the service, and I want to make sure that everyone knows about that. So by the end of the month, those classes are going to be starting up here in the next week or so. So we want to make sure
Okay.
that that gets out there to everybody. Call us up, email us, and we'll hopefully you guys will put our email and our phone number up,
Yep.
531-355-1059 to contact us, or see us online. We'll love to have you in our classes.
Yep. And we've got a link to for those outside of Omaha. So at our sites across the country, you can go online and see, where you're at and where there's classes available. Um, Wonderful, wonderful classes, and a lot of fantastic, fantastic advice.
Yeah, it's so much fun. The parents get in my class, they get a book, they get their workbook. It's very interactive. We have role play and videos, and we have great discussion. And the parents are really great to each other. Even though we're online, you get to interact with an adult. You've been with a kid all day long, so that can always be a break that you well deserve.
Amen to that. All right. Well, thank you, Bridget. Have a wonderful afternoon. Have a wonderful afternoon, everybody. Thanks for everybody who joined us.
Thanks, guys.
Bye
Take it
bye.
easy.